All right, can I have your attention, please? All right, it is my honor first to introduce a couple of people in the crowd, and then I'm going to turn it over to Senator Charles Perry. First, let me recognize with Texas Tech, we have here the president of Texas Tech University System, Dr. Lawrence Skuvanek from the Health Science Center. With the Health Science Center, Dr. Lori Rice Spearman. And then, of course, Dr. Chancellor Ted Mitchell, who's also with us. I see a lot of elected officials in the crowd, so I want to recognize all of them by just saying thank you guys for being here. I do want to introduce to you a guy who really doesn't need a lot of introduction around these parts, somebody who is who he says he is, both here in Lubbock and in Austin. Senator Charles Perry has done significant things to make sure that we do not have illegal immigration in this state by banning sanctuaries for illegal immigrants, cities, led the charge on that. He is 1,000% pro-life, helping lead the way to have the historic Texas Heartbeat Bill. And make Lubbock a sanctuary for the unborn. Tens of thousands of babies are being born thanks to his work. Senator Perry is my partner on all things Texas Tech, all things rural, all things water. A good friend of mine, my privilege to introduce Senator Charles Perry.
Thank you, Dustin. Real quick, John Frelo, raise your hand. John Frelo has chosen not to go back down to Austin, the crazy world that we lived in down there. He did a yeoman's job for 12 years. Y'all give him a round of applause. We sign up for the deal. It's a lot of sacrifice. It's a lot of interesting stuff behind the scenes for sure. But John was a yeoman down there working for this area, for the things that are important to us. And I can't say enough for my chairman over there in the House and the things that we coordinate with and things that get done. It is my pleasure, my privilege, and my distinct honor to introduce you our governor. Our governor is a proven product, right? He needs really, he's the workhorse of the day. He sued the previous administrations of the past that got into Texas business multiple times. He carried that into the governor's house. The experience he came with that. He understands what's at stake. And let me tell you guys, we hear this every election season. This is the most important election of our time, right? That's what we hear. This is the highest stakes election we're going to have in November. We have a primary going on right now. You need to get out and support your governor in that. But this governor is the only one that can beat Beto in Texas in November. I know y'all don't understand that. Texas is a lot bluer than you think it is because we're privileged to live in a red area of the state and country, for that matter, that tend to take that for granted. But his success or failure in November will be because of Lubbock, Texas, and the area that we live in and the level we live. We have an obligation or responsibility to stand up, stand together. Whatever little nuances and differences we have, we stand together and we vote the way we're supposed to vote because the stakes are too high for the country and for the state and for the community. My governor is a proven product. He knows what to do. He knows how to get it done. He's fearless in that leadership. I want you to welcome my governor, your governor, and the next governor of the state of Texas in November, Governor Greg Abbott. Come on over, sir. Thank you. Good to see you.
Give it up for Senator Perry. Senator Perry, thank you for your kind words. Thank you for your service in the Senate. And Dustin Burrows. Give it up for Dustin Burrows also. Great ally in the Texas House. And John Frelo, thank you also for your many years of service. Listen, it is great to be back in Lubbock, Texas. And there's only one thing better than being in Lubbock, Texas, and that is coming to Lubbock, Texas, and arriving and receiving something more than what I came here with. Let me show you what I got. Come here a second. Won't you hold that? Look what I got. So the next time I am at a Texas Tech basketball game, I will know the appropriate attire to wear. Listen, I want to pick up where Senator Perry left off. Listen, you need to understand the geography of Texas, the political geography of Texas. I know you know where Dallas is located, you know where Austin is located, you know where San Antonio is located, but here's what you need to fully comprehend, and that is on election night on November the 8th. I'm going to start at a deficit. When you look at the votes out of Dallas County, Harris County, which is where Houston is, out of Travis County, where Austin is, out of El Paso County, and out of Bexar County, we will be starting behind. The only way that we win is by having a high level of turnout in Lubbock County, or a place where I just came from, which is Amarillo, Texas. We must outperform. We don't need 51% of the vote in Lubbock County. We need 81% of the vote in Lubbock County. Here's the deal. I'm on the ballot, but far more than me being on the ballot, your values are on the ballot. No, don't go vote for me. Go vote for you and for your values and what you believe in. Let me just give you a couple of examples. Senator Perry was talking about the incredible contrast between myself and Beto, and there's I don't know if there's ever been a governor's race in the history of Texas where you had a wider contrast between the two candidates. Look at jobs in the economy. Texas is number one in so many economic categories. Is unbelievable. But look at what Beto wants to do by imposing the Green New Deal that would crush all the energy jobs that we have in this state and make us dependent on oil and gas from Saudi Arabia or the Middle East, the same way that you see the European region being dependent upon oil from Russia. It is insane for a nation to be dependent upon another nation for oil resources if you have your own oil resources. And I will not let the leftist radical agenda destroy the high-paying, good-paying energy jobs we have here in the great state of Texas. Listen, it goes far beyond just things like jobs. It also involves this radical leftist agenda advanced by Beto O'Rourke and invading our schools. Our schools are a place to educate our kids, not to indoctrinate our kids, and that's exactly what the radical leftists want to do. And that's why, working with your representatives, your senator, Texas passed bans on critical race theory in every subject, in every school, and every category in the state of Texas. Texas now has the strongest ban on critical race theory of any state in the United States of America. I am running for re-election to make sure we do not have any radical leftists come in and take over Texas and impose critical race theory on your children, on your schools here in Lubbock, Texas. We will not let that happen. But listen, just as important, one thing that we've realized, especially during the time of COVID, but you do it before COVID, and that is that at the end of the day, there is no public program, no government program that can replace or displace the role that parents play when it comes to the education and health care of their own children. Parents matter, and parents need to be put first. And that's why I'm running for re-election, to pass a Parents' Bill of Rights that will ensure that parents are restored to their rightful place as the primary decision maker for their child's health care and education needs. But the most dangerous thing that we see with this radical leftist agenda is the way that they make our cities and our communities less safe. They believe that in this radical ideology that communities will be better if we defund police. And how reckless is that? You've seen what's happened in L.A. and San Francisco and Portland and Seattle and New York and Chicago, and the list goes on. And you've even seen it in Austin, Texas. In Austin, Texas, they defunded the police by more than $100 million, and the outcome was predictable. Last year, Austin had the highest number of murders that they have ever had in the history of Austin, Texas. And we all collectively said, not on our watch will we allow police to be defunded, because in Texas, we support our law enforcement officers, period. So I signed a law that will defund any city that defunds police, including Austin, Texas, and now Austin, Texas had to come up with more than $100 million to refund police in Austin, Texas. But to be honest with you, there's something even more radical and candidly even more dangerous to our fellow Texans as well as to the United States of America. And that's this radical woke agenda about open borders that's been imposed by Biden, embraced by Beto, and not tolerated by our fellow Texans. Here's what happened. Here's what happened. If you look at what President Trump had done, he did 4 things that led to the lowest number of border crossings in decades. It's the Remaining Mexico policy, the Title 42 policy, the end of catch and release, and the building of the border wall. Those 4 things led to multi-decade lows in border crossings. Biden came in and wiped out all of those and opened the border to anybody who wanted to come here, and people are coming here from more than 150 countries across the entire globe. It is extraordinarily dangerous. And I'll tell you this. You know, as Biden seems to be fretting over what's going on between Russia and the Ukraine, we have people coming from terrorist-sponsored nations across our southern border. What Biden needs to do is not be worried about putting boots on the ground in the Ukraine. He needs to be putting boots on the ground on the border between Texas and Mexico. But instead of putting boots on the ground, he actually is removing boots from the ground because he's reducing the forces of the Border Patrol. He's tying the hands of ICE, and they are being ineffective at securing the border. So Texas is doing what no other state has done in the history of the United States of America. Texas is stepping up, and we are spending $3 billion of your dollars for Texas to secure our own border. As we gather in Lubbock, Texas, at this moment, there are 10,000 National Guard on the border who are working to make sure they secure that border. Give it up for the great men and women of the Texas National Guard. And they are joined by members of the Texas Department of Public Safety, and they are making arrests and jailing people who are coming across the border and acting illegally here in the United States of America. And then on top of that, you know that now Texas is building our own border wall. You may have seen this news, very importantly, for months. After the Trump administration was over and Biden administration had taken office, you saw all of these large border wall panels just laying on the ground, nothing being done with them. And we found a way that we were able to go through the procurement system and obtain those border wall segments. And so what Biden was allowing to just languish on the ground, Texas is now putting up to secure our own border in the great state of Texas. Listen, as much as safety is on the ballot, so is freedom on the ballot. I know Lubbock, Texas pretty well, and I bet most, if not every single person in this room, you believe in God Almighty. You attend church. Speaking of which, remember this, because Senator Perry made reference to some things I did as Attorney General. Remember what I did when I was Attorney General. When I was Attorney General, there was a monument on the Texas Capitol grounds that stood about 10 feet tall, and on that monument was etched into it the 10 Commandments. And an atheist was walking across the Texas Capitol grounds and asked a federal judge to tear down that monument. And I said, not on my watch will I allow the 10 Commandments monument to be torn down. That case went all the way to the United States Supreme Court. I argued it before the United States Supreme Court on, interestingly, Texas Independence Day. And we won, and as we gather in Lubbock today, the 10 Commandments monument still stands on the Texas Capitol grounds. At the same time, we see people like Beto who is threatening your First Amendment freedom of religion by threatening to eliminate the tax-exempt status of churches that refuse to bow down to the woke left agenda. I will not let that happen to the Lone Star State. And you all know what comes after the First Amendment. It comes, and what did Beto say he's going to do? I don't think Beto's ever met anybody in Lubbock, Texas. There is no way that anybody in Lubbock, Texas is going to allow Beto to come confiscate your guns. But fear not, because I've signed 20 laws that protect your Second Amendment rights, including making Texas a constitutional carry state and making Texas a Second Amendment sanctuary state. Listen, we're among like-minded folk here. I think everybody here and pretty much everybody in Lubbock agrees on one common concept, and that is we live in the greatest country in the history of the entire world, the United States of America. God blessed America, and we are the best country in the history of the world. The Army, yeah, by the way, we got an Army vet right up here. Thank you for your service. So why don't you, so we got an Army vet here. You can wave, but everybody's standing, so you can't stand up. But everybody who served in the United States military, would you please wave your hand so we can thank you for your service to our country? So we all agree we live in the greatest country in the history of the world, and I'm going to guess something that you don't have to confess to. I'm going to guess there may be some people in the room who even love Texas more than they do the United States of America. But here's what you need to understand. As you get ready to go vote this week, as you get ready to get engaged in politics, from now all the way to Election Day, remember this. There are people on the ballot this election cycle. There are people running for governor this election cycle who do not like America and its past. They want to rewrite America's past, and they want to redesign America's future and write it in a completely different direction, pursuing the socialistic path that they want to impose on Texas and on the United States of America. We are not going to let that happen in Lubbock or Texas. We're gonna bind together and we're gonna work together all the way until November the 8th. And you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna keep Texas the best state in the greatest nation in the history of the entire world. God bless you all, and God bless the great state of Texas.